Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, my very sincere apologies for the delay. Something unexpected had come up, but my apologies for that. Acting CEO, members of the senior management of FIRCA, staff, and of course the invited guests from the different agencies and from the business community. I think essentially the acting CEO has summarized what I wanted to say. It's always great to have somebody speak before you. This is what I always do, get people to speak before me, so I don't have to say too much. But jokes aside, I think the reality is that the customs plays a very pivotal role in any country's well-being, in any country's security, and in any country's wealth. You are obviously, the customs people are at the forefront in terms of being right at the border, similarly as the immigration department is, as would be the police force, as would be biosecurity. These are all the different agencies that are at the border, and they play a role that is very critical. And I think there is still perhaps a mindset in some of the agencies that being overwhelming is the way to operate. That is really not the way to operate in a modern day setting. The way to operate is to facilitate, yet at the same time be extremely vigilant in terms of enforcing the laws of your country. It's a very, very simple approach. We need to be facilitators, but we also need to at the same time be those who protect the best interests of your country. Now, as to how far you go in terms of protecting the best interests of your country and in which manner you deliver it is really the key. And the theme of this morning's International Customs Day is obviously talking about digitization. Digitization and having a digital approach to your operations means that you are able to expedite matters. You are able to perhaps even get information that you would not be able to ascertain when you were to even put out a form, or even if you had to individually interview people. Because digitization invariably gives you the opportunity to verify facts even before people get to you. So forms can be filled beforehand. If yachts are coming into Fiji, they should be able to fill in their forms before they get to Fiji. These are the ways that in fact digitization helps you to do your job better, helps you to actually maintain a particular level of vigilance that you would not have otherwise. And you're able to do that in an efficient manner. And I think that is very, very critical. It is also very important to understand that when we are actually delivering all of these services, that we do it in a manner that is in alignment with modern day practices in other countries also. The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, as we said to somebody the other day, is that, and many people have said it to us, that the world is becoming a much smaller place. If, for example, our customs agency is not modernized, if our immigration agency is not modernized, and our services is out of sync with the 21st century, there are other opportunities for people to go to other countries. Remember that. Not everybody is falling over each other to come to Fiji. We have to be able to entice them to come to Fiji. There are other countries, some of the other smaller Pacific Island countries whose names I do not necessarily want to mention. They may actually pop up on the radar. They themselves are trying to become like Fiji. And if they then are able to surpass us, and they have an attitudinal change that we perhaps do not have, they can actually beat us. They become a lot more attractive. In the same way, when we talk about tourism, we have nice beaches in Fiji. So does Phuket, so does Bali, so does Tahiti, so does even Vanuatu, so does Mauritius, so does Maldives. So people have an opportunity to go to those countries. Of course, there are certain things that we are able to distinguish ourselves from the other countries. For example, we talk about the hospitality and the friendliness of the Fijian people. You know, when we have, for example, Aussie and Kiwi parents coming with their kids, after 2 weeks, the kids don't want to leave the nannies because they become so attached to them because we are so good with children. These are some of the demarcators that we may have as a point of difference. But there are other destinations too. If somebody is purely looking for sun, sand, and the beach, they can go to other countries. So how do we entice them to Fiji? We have a friendly customs people. We have a friendly immigration people. Our airport is efficient. It doesn't take you 2 hours to be progressed through. We have a 4-lane road coming out of Nandi Airport. So if somebody jumps on a plane at 6:30 a.m. in Sydney, they should be drinking the beer or the pina coladas in Denarau by midday. That is a point of distinction. In fact, it may take longer for somebody to go from Melbourne to Brisbane or Gold Coast. So this is how we distinguish ourselves. And we need to identify what are our strengths. So similarly with customs, we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to say, how are we different from others? Are we being efficient? Are we getting the same complaints from our businesses, Fijian businesses, even in Fiji? The other point that I like to make also, which is I think very, very important, is that customs people need to have that level of integrity like other law enforcement agencies at the coalface that perhaps no other people does have. The example that we were discussing yesterday with somebody is that when you work in a bank, if you work as a receptionist in a bank, your level of responsibility is very different to the level of responsibility if you work as a teller in the bank. If you work in a receptionist and you have the petty cash and maybe 15 cents goes missing, it's different to you being a teller and 15 cents going missing. The teller's main job, main point of responsibility is accountability of monies that they receive or the monies that they give out. Whereas the point of responsibility of the receptionist is not being the guardian of the petty cash. So you see, this is how we're able to distinguish ourselves. And this is how customs agents must distinguish themselves and know what is more responsible of them to be like. I have seen correspondence where customs agencies have asked favors of people who they're clearing goods for. I've seen emails, people have forwarded to me, oh, by the way, you're going overseas, can you buy this for me? This is unacceptable. You can't do that. It compromises your position. It compromises, in fact, fundamentally as an individual, your dignity. Because they know if this guy he wants me to buy him something, obviously, he can be bought. It's very, very critical. And this is why it's also very critical, and I've spoken to the chairman of FIRCA, with a thorough review of the FIRCA's HR, we want to be able to pay people who are at the border level, who are playing very critical roles, a lot more than what they're getting now. It is very critical. We have to recognize that because the level of responsibility is a lot higher. But ladies and gentlemen, we cannot do that if the level of integrity and the level of service that is being currently delivered remains. We have to be able to step up a notch, and then we will be able to do all those things. And I know the CEO is carrying out some restructuring, etc., and I hope that continues, and you must be able to support that. Because ultimately, what do you want? You want a good work environment. You want to be able to understand that you play a very pivotal role at the border for your country. Many of you have children. Many of your children go to school. Your kids would be complaining to you for the next 3 weeks that they don't have their textbooks. And as some of you may have heard in the news, the reason why that has happened is because some civil servants in the Ministry of Education did not do their job. You are being affected. Your children are being affected. In the same way, if you do not do something right that is expected of you, other citizens will suffer. We all play a very critical role. In the same way that I keep on saying that in any organization, we may not sometimes value the guy who's the driver. He's a driver. But the day he does not turn up to work, you want to go somewhere, oh, the bloody driver's not at work. You all complain, and suddenly the driver's value increases. But when the driver is there, nobody really cares. So the point is that everybody in any organization plays a very critical role. In the same way, all of us as citizens, as Fijians of this country, play a pivotal role in terms of what we do. Everything affects everything else. It's a chain reaction. So if we're able to understand that, then we'll be in a lot better space and everybody will be able to benefit. If the revenue goes up through customs, it means that the government has more opportunity to be able to give pay rises, to be able to recognize, to be able to do job evaluation exercises. The revenue goes up, we're able to build better schools, hospitals, bridges, etc. Very critical. Better street lighting. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think with the International Customs World Day, I think it's very important to recognize the role that the customs officers play. And I know many of you play a role sometimes under very strenuous conditions. I know sometimes there's a lot of pressure also. We recognize that. We don't want to say that everybody's bad. I think many people do their jobs well, and in fact they're trying very hard to do it even better. What is also critical is that we want to be able to, and I mentioned to the chair, we need to get more training, get more international exposure for the FERCA officials, in particular those who are at the border, to be able to understand how things are happening overseas. I'd like to take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to thank you for your work, for your contribution. Fiji actually, many people do not realize it, is at the cusp of getting on to the next stage of being a very modern country, at the cusp of getting a very strong foundation for our economy. As I mentioned in other forums, on April the 5th, by April the 5th, Fiji will be able to be connected, to every single continent that rims the Pacific Ocean, except South America. And that is a very good space to be in. We suddenly, by flying to Singapore, you're flying to LA, we'll be flying to San Francisco, we fly to Hong Kong, we fly to Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, Wellington, Christchurch, and Auckland, and the Pacific Island countries. Korean Airways flies from Seoul. We are connected to every single continent except South America, and that is probably our next frontier. We've become a hub. You'll find that many more people will be transiting through Fiji. A bit more work for customs perhaps, but a good opportunity to showcase our country, a good opportunity to increase our revenue levels and the living conditions of everybody else. So we're in a very good space, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to your contribution. We look forward to, of course, working with the board and CEO. I'd like to thank the acting CEO for the work he's done so far. We'd like to also acknowledge the presence, of course, of other agencies that you need to collaborate with. You know, immigration is here. Immigration, of course, is another area that we're looking at seeing some modernization in the way they do things. Fiji at the moment, for example, is in dire need of skill sets in many areas. We have a shortage of people in many areas. So our ability to understand that we need more expatriates to do specific things that we do not necessarily have the skill sets for. We do not have a speech therapist, ladies and gentlemen, in Fiji. I think there was one lady, Australian lady, and she left. We don't have one speech therapist. So if your child has a problem with speech, there's nobody in Fiji that can actually get them out of that. You have to take time to think about that. We don't have a full-time heart surgeon in Fiji. If any one of us has a heart attack now, nobody can operate on us. You have to go to Australia, New Zealand, India, China, wherever. That's the kind of space we are in. We don't necessarily have people who understand, for example, making pastry in supermarkets and how to, get that out. So these are the many skill sets that we do require. And we need to understand that we are able, if we get those skill sets, it will also empower us, it will give us the services that we want, it will also help to train locals too. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of it depends on you, how you do your job, depends on other people and how we are able to collaborate. And if we are able to get that level of synchronization, as I said, we've got numerous opportunities awaiting us. So thank you very much for your work, and I think digitization, of course, is something that we've been pushing for in government. Unfortunately, from our perspective, it's been slow, but I know FERCA is a bit ahead of the game. And I think we've also allocated made some budgetary allocation in this year's budget to help FERCA fast-track its digitization program, becoming a lot more digital friendly, and for you able to make yourselves a lot more attractive as an organization. So thank you once again, and again my sincere apologies for the delay, and I wish you a very good day. Naka, thank you. But,